world faces annihilation, as 4 super viruses have come out of nowhere and threaten all of humanity. You think measles is some scary shit? Why don't you try Ebola, super cooties, space herpes, and polio the sequel coming at you all at once. Now this is the new dice chucking game from Matt Leacock, the designer of the original Pandemic. This is Pandemic: The Cure. So where the original Pandemic was probably 80% strategy, 20% chance, the tables are flipped here, right? Because you are constantly rolling custom dice for your individual character's roll. You're rolling dice for the viruses to see where they land. Definitely a lot more chance to this game, but it's still exciting. It still maintains the core of Pandemic. And that means that, well, you're probably gonna lose because Pandemic wants to crush you hardcore, and it will. As with the original Pandemic, your goal is to cure all 4 viruses before they extinct life on our planet. No pressure. You'll do this by treating infected continents, sending treated viruses to the CDC, then capturing samples from the CDC, and ultimately rolling to find a cure. Pandemic: The Cure is a dice game through and through. You have your own custom dice, which are unique to each roll. On each side is a different possible action that you can spend on your turn if you happen to roll it. It might be traveling to a different continent or treating one of the viruses to prevent an outbreak. Or you could roll a biohazard symbol, which is bad. Real bad. But more on that in a minute. The board is a series of discs, each representing a continent numbered from 1 to 6. Antarctica isn't included, which would seem to be an easy way to win the game. Hey, let's bundle up and move south, everybody. The dice can't touch us near these penguins. And oh look, the viruses are dice too. Yeah, this is a full-on dice game. Now the 4 different colored dice represent the 4 viruses. Oh, super cooties, you are unstoppable. Whenever you need to infect more of the world, you'll be pulling viruses from this ominous blue bag, rolling, and then placing those viruses on the corresponding countries. Notice these aren't normal 6-sided dice. Each virus only has certain continents it can naturally spread to. Each also has a plus sign, which is the only good news you'll probably get all game. All plus signs go to this special CDC research pool. Anyone can spend these dice at any time to purchase one of the 3 available cards. These can seriously save your ass. Let's run through a sample turn. I'll play the medic. First, I roll my dice. I can re-roll as many as I want, except if they have a biohazard sign. Biohazards increase the potency of all viruses. See this track? This is the track of death. Each biohazard moves this peg on the track. When I pass a segment, like I just did, I cause an epidemic. So this is around the part of the movie where Gwyneth Paltrow dies. When there's an epidemic, I take all of the viruses in the CDC and also draw a number of dice from the bag equal to the new infection rate. I roll all of these and distribute. Ugh. No es bueno for South America. Let's take a look at the other possibilities. Boats let me move to an adjacent continent. The doctor's a little different because he has a choice on one side to either use a boat or use a needle. This needle lets me treat a virus in my current location and send it to the CDC. Or I can take a virus that's already in the CDC and put it back in the draw bag. See, we lose if we run out of dice to pull from the draw bag, so it's always a good idea to have some dice in there. Planes let me fly anywhere, and this bottle here is how I collect samples of viruses from the CDC. And when I collect samples, I lock up the die that I use to collect it, reducing my available actions for future turns, but it's the only way to save the world. And once my actions are all done, I can attempt to find a cure based on any samples I've collected. I take all of the sample dice of one virus that I've collected, and I roll them. Now I need to get a 13 or better to cure the virus, and I didn't. So the world is Lastly, I get to infect the planet more because it's not already screwed enough. I draw from the evil blue bag a number of dice equal to the infection rate. I roll them and place them. You can only have 3 of any one virus on a region. The numbers on the dice don't matter. If it's full up, well, now I have an outbreak. I move the outbreak marker forward. If we get past 7, you guessed it, the world's dead. Any excess dice I couldn't place because a region is full move clockwise to the next region. The clock is clearly ticking and the world is clearly in deep, deep trouble. But hey, at least I won't have to worry about my taxes this year. I did not think it was possible for anybody to take what is a fairly strategic game in the original Pandemic and make it into a game that is a lot more about chance and has a little bit more of a casual feel to it and still maintain all of the intensity and the drama that you find and that I've loved forever from Pandemic. And amazingly, Pandemic: The Cure does that. This is the sort of next step, the evolution of what Pandemic can be. It is really a great game. Now, I don't think Pandemic: The Cure is better than the original Pandemic. It just isn't, right? Especially when you add in the expansions that are available for Pandemic. But Pandemic: The Cure is a great option for 2 things. One, let's say you're like me and you've just played Pandemic so much that you've basically mastered it. Pandemic: The Cure requires so much chance that even if you have a great strategy, it's just, you can never predict it. It has actually become a harder game for me, far more harder game, I think, than the original Pandemic. So for anybody who's played Pandemic and has just played it so much that they're to the point where, yeah, we don't bring it out to the table anymore, Pandemic: The Cure will give you back that feeling, the intensity, the sensations of concern, right? When we're drawing into the draw bag to pull out what are they gonna be the next viruses, you know, if I'm in a situation like this where there's viruses crowding up, the red viruses are crowding up, the America and South America, if I pull out reds, like, we're all screwed, right? And as I'm drawing those out, there is people leaning forward going, what are we going to get, right? There is that level of intensity, and then you still get the drama of rolling dice. It's pretty exciting stuff. And I think the other thing is that this is also a great game for people who maybe they're not that into board games and you want to play the original Pandemic with them, but you're worried that it's going to be too intense, that it's too much strategy, maybe a little bit too involved, too easy for somebody to be an alpha gamer in that and just tell their friends what to do. Well, this is kind of a good gateway actually for the original Pandemic. So you play this, it's a little bit more casual. I think it's a little bit less intimidating. Honestly, you're just rolling dice, right? Rolling dice is easy to get to, and you're going to be teaching them the concept of Pandemic. You're still doing the same actions of, hey, I've got to manage where I move, and I've got to, cure diseases, and I've got to, treat as I can and try to manage what the crisis that's coming on. So really, Pandemic: The Cure is just an awesome game, right? It's great for people who are experts with the Pandemic, but it's honestly really good for people who don't play a lot of board games and have never experienced Pandemic. This is a good starter for them. So Pandemic: The Cure, really high praise from us. Great game. I think if you love Pandemic and you don't have it yet, you definitely need to go pick this up.